This year, Framingham turns 325. We're using this milestone as an opportunity to dive into the city's rich history. And who better to do that with than the Framingham History Center?
Hey, welcome, come on in.
That's Anna Tucker, Executive Director of the Framingham History Center. She brought Access Framingham on a tour of the 3 buildings on their campus: the Old Academy, Village Hall, and of course, their home base, the Edgell Memorial Library.
In a lot of ways, Edgell Memorial Library is like a living embodiment of history. One of the first things you might notice when you walk in, there are these incredibly arch-vaulted ceilings above you that really gives a sense of almost a sacred space, and that speaks to directly what the purpose of this building was. First of all, it was the first freestanding library in Framingham, as the name suggests. But secondly, it was also a memorial to fallen Union soldiers from Framingham who died during the Civil War.
That's why you may have noticed the statue of a Union soldier that stands outside.
This soldier, likely there was an individual who stood as the model, but very intentionally, there was not a name that was attached to this soldier because they wanted it to represent the community's contribution and sacrifice on behalf of the Union.
Inside, there is a bust of Framingham resident General George H. Gordon. He commanded the 2nd Massachusetts Infantry in the Civil War.
We think about this time period. 1872 is so close to when the Civil War was fought. This was very fresh and new in people's memories and minds. So Framingham played a very large role, both through General Gordon and through the troops who actually served. And so, of course, the community wanted to come together and find a way to have a lasting, ongoing monument. And that's what Edgell Memorial Library turned out to be.
The Edgell Memorial Library was built in a Gothic style to stick out from the surrounding buildings, one of which is Village Hall, our next stop. The Greek Revival architecture of this 19th century building was also intentional.
The architecture reflects that this was meant to be a cornerstone, not only of the historic center common that we see around us, but for all of Framingham.
Village Hall was one of the first town halls in Framingham. When town governing was moved elsewhere, the building continued to serve as a space for community gathering.
It was used as a place for concerts, it was a place for lectures, it was also a space for theater. In fact, Meta Warwick Fuller handmade props that were used in plays here at the Village Hall on the Common. So as a history center, especially in anticipation of our newest exhibit about the art of history in Framingham, we're excited to keep bringing back a lot of these ways that the town hall here has been used to connect so many generations of Framingham residents.
To this day, the History Center uses Village Hall to host events and bring the community together. Next on our tour is the Old Academy. The original structure was built in 1792, motivated by Ben Franklin's Academy Initiative.
And it's very interesting as we're working on our 325th commemoration, looking back to those early years and how this was such an important place of learning and how a lot of people knew about Framingham was because of this academy right here.
The academy has since been reconstructed into the Greek Revival building you see today. In 1915, the school moved elsewhere, and the building was donated to what is now known as the Framingham History Center.
So this was sort of the first purpose structure for history and memory here in Framingham, the place where we're standing right now.
The building now houses the majority of their 10,000 artifact collection, but they have also used it to continue the Academy's legacy of learning. On Thursdays and by appointment Wednesday through Saturday, a team of researchers is on hand ready to answer any questions you may have about Framingham history. They also provide educational programming to Framingham Public School students.
In 2025, not only is it the 325th anniversary of the founding of Framingham, it's also the 50th anniversary of our 3rd grade program. So for 50 years, we've invited every single 3rd grade student as part of the Framingham Public Schools through the doors of this academy. And for many students, this is the first experience that they've had with a museum or even the history of Framingham. And it's so important that our students, that our youth, learn about history because they can suddenly discover what came before them, help us to understand where we are today, and also see the vital role that they play in shaping a future in a community that's yet to come. I mean, throughout this visit, everything that we've walked through, every building, every artifact we've seen, has helped shape the Framingham where we are today. The students who are coming here today are going to shape the Framingham of tomorrow.
All of these buildings are conveniently located around the Center Common, which was the heart of Framingham public life when they were built.
That is what the Center Common, the role it played in history, is people would come to this space and they would learn at the academy, they would worship at different places, they would meet with their fellow neighbors and residents at the town hall to make major decisions about the Framingham that we live in now today. So in so many ways, this was an anchor for Framingham to help develop where we are. And I think in its 325th year, it's a great time of reflection to think about how important this space was, but more importantly, the people who came here and shaped it. Every time I walk in to my office, I'm inspired and I'm reminded about the role and the purpose that history plays in our community. And that's what Edgell Memorial Library and actually all three of our buildings do. They're layers of history where you learn all of these important stories over time leading up to current day. And it's an incredible honor and a huge responsibility to be one of the stewards of the history of Framingham, as you can see in our 3 historic buildings and the thousands and thousands of records and artifacts here, because in so many ways, history shapes the way that we view the world around us. And this academy here, the artifacts that we see around us, help us understand where we came from so much better. So it's really an honor to be one of the organizations that helps shape both the future of Framingham, but really considers where did we come from.